Scott and Jake Arians here for the Huddle, back again. We've got 2 weeks, almost 2 full weeks under our belt. We still got Monday Night Football to go as we're recording this, but a lot of interesting storylines around the league already. I think the topic of the day, jumping right out to it, the Carolina Panthers are benching Bryce Young. They're going to the Spark, Andy Dalton, and based on the play that I've seen so far, I feel like that's the right move. Dave Canales really needs to do a full reset on Bryce Young if they're even going to use him going forward. But to me, this move signals right off the bat that either you don't believe that he's a guy you're moving forward with, or you're losing the locker room, and you have to pull this in two, because nobody was expecting Carolina to be a Super Bowl winner or anything like that. Where do you come down on this, Jake, and where are we at with giving quarterbacks enough time to develop?
I mean, he's been up against it, let's be honest. I mean, the staff they had last year, they're falling apart of that. Now, 2 games, he's lost his confidence. He doesn't look very good. I think you have to do this, and I think it absolutely is a locker room thing. Players know when the better player is sitting on the bench and they don't have a chance to win because the other guy's playing, whether he's first pick or not. I like Andy. I mean, there's a chance Andy comes in at those for 400. There's a chance Andy comes in at those 4 picks. I hate playing a guy with nothing to lose, and that's what the Raiders are going to get this weekend with Andy Dalton coming in, who's a gunslinger and has some arm talent. I don't know if they have any talent around him. I still think that team is hot garbage. I don't know how much better of a chance it gives them to win. But I know a bunch of guys on that staff. I mean, if they had to make this move now, it was bad. I mean, it wasn't just as bad as we saw in these 2 games. It was bad in practice. And I think you probably see guys dropping heads going, I mean, we can't win with this guy. If that's the case, and Dave's a young coach, you got to do it early. Can you go back to him? Yeah, they're a bad team. I think there's a chance Andy gets banged up, and you got to go back to him. I think this is probably the best thing for the kid. Now, let's see what he's made of. Apparently, I mean, I just saw a report come out right before we jumped on that he was shocked. His family was shocked. People around him were shocked. That this came out of nowhere. I don't know, man. What I've seen so far has been ugly. Like, really ugly.
Yeah, I don't think you could be shocked if you've looked at the tape at all. I mean, this is fairly obviously coming. Dalton, a seasoned vet, we've all saw what he did up there in Cincinnati. I liked him back when he even was at TCU. He was a guy that I thought was criminally underrated. He's kind of one of those journeyman type quarterbacks, but he's got enough talent to win you some games. You put it all on his shoulders, and he'll trust his arm a little too much, throw some interceptions sometimes. But but he's got a little bit better athleticism than you think he does, and he's a good decision maker, and he can get you the ball and not make mistakes when he plays within himself. As far as the Panthers go, man, I look over the last couple of years and look at the talent that they've moved on from. Guys like Burns, DJ Moore, you go on like this, and you're just wondering what that franchise is doing. They've been mired in mediocrity since Dave Tepper took over it, and mediocrity might be a little strong on the positive side of things. The other part of this is, thinking about quarterbacks who have been benched but have come back to make a success of themselves. And there are a few examples of this. I mean, Alex Smith was brutally bad as a rookie. In fact, he got benched several times before Harbaugh finally got there, turned things around with him. John Elway, if you want to go all the way back, was somebody who got benched his rookie year. Tua, as a recent example, somebody who got benched several times and managed to turn it around. So I don't want to write the book and slam the door shut on Bryce Young just yet. But this is certainly a gigantic red flag in where he's at in his career.
Yeah, I mean, I think John Elway, physically talented freak, whether he got benched or not, it might have been trying to do too much. I think Tua is probably a better example of shorter guys, not huge arms. Tua's got such a quick release that I think he's probably got a little bit more of an advantage there. But coming out of the same stuff at Alabama, I don't know, man. It's ugly. I mean, I think go back to him. We'll see what happens with the kid. But I think, Dave also knows who he's coaching for.
Yeah. They
had to win some damn games, or at least put a productive stuff on the field. This owner's got to see that I'm capable of being a good coach, or he's going to fire my ass too. I mean, I think that's part of it.
Yeah, and unfortunately, they've got a quick trigger there in Carolina for a team that looks like it's in the middle of a lengthy rebuild. So I hope Dave gets
play the defense of the Raiders this weekend. Whoever's going to play Andy Dalton or Bryce Young, man, they look freaking good. We talked about it last week. I picked them to cover that spread. I think they'd win that game. But, man, that defense is legit, and I would not want to be going into Las Vegas this weekend to play that defense of all defenses with trying to get a new quarterback ready to play.
The Raiders, we could pivot to that. I do want to get back to some other teams in the NFC South because there's a lot of storylines coming out of that division. But the Raiders, let's go to the AFC West. You've got the Raiders who have played good defense for 2 weeks. I mean, you just talked about the defense, but they've been playing good defense. Under Antonio Pierce, the defense isn't the problem. It's can they get production out of the offense? And they started to get that. And that team is suddenly scary if they're getting consistent production out of the offense. They were a one-side of the ball team before. You get Gardner Minshew going, and he can make some things happen. He's another guy that trusts himself a little too much, but he can make some things happen. But you get consistent offensive production out of that football team, and all of a sudden that is a scary football team.
I mean, they're going to run it okay with White. Amir Abdullah played a bunch. They got some pieces there, but Brock Bowers really coming on in his second game as rookie. Jacoby Myers, I think, is the most underrated two to a superstar, and Devontae Adams. That combination of those three guys, dude, if Minshew plays like he did this weekend, they are a scary team because that defense has not given up 20 many weeks. They're bringing the house. I mean, they're stopping the run. And Baltimore, let's flip that real quick because I said they got issues. They got a quarterback that wants to be in the shotgun. They got a running back that wants the quarterback under the center. I love that they added Derrick Henry. I just don't think it was a good piece for them to add. It doesn't make a lot of sense to me. I think they got to – I mean, the Raiders are fine. They're going to run it okay with White. Amir Abdullah played. They got a backfield by committee. But you're talking about Jacoby Myers might be the best number two that nobody talks about to a superstar, Devontae Adams. Brock Bowers really coming on as a young tight end, right at 100 yards. Those three guys, if Minshew plays like this, they can be scary. To me, I said the Ravens had issues. I want to hear what your take on this. Like, you have a quarterback that wants to be in the shotgun, running back that wants him to be under center. They're going to put him in the pistol. They have some stuff to figure out. I said I didn't like what they had going on. To play in that Raiders defense is why I picked them to cover that spread. They're going to be okay, but I think it's going to take them a little bit longer. Mark Andrews is not really a thing yet. Isaiah Likely looks like he's more of the tight end, but they're not going a lot of two tight end stuff. Flowers looks really good, but other than that, man, like they look like they're a work in progress, and that defense has some issues.
They do. The defense, I'm not worried about long term. I think they'll get there. I think part of that is an adjustment from changing coordinators and everything else. The other side, the offense, though, I think you're absolutely right. I mean, you got a running back who you want on the stat sheet. Then you look at the tape, and he's not a fit for what they do. I mean, he's a 2-foot shuffle guy. Follow the fullback in, and you got him gun offset. And it's not. It just doesn't look right when he's trying to run. He just kind of runs into a wall and hopes to move him. It just doesn't look right. You got a quarterback who needs to be back in the gun. I don't think Lamar under center takes full advantage of what he can do. And this is certainly not an outside zone team with Derrick Henry there either. So there's no benefit to it seems to putting Lamar under center in that regard. To me, it just seems a bit disjointed. It felt like they got a body type and a stat sheet they wanted, but not a player they wanted in Derrick Henry. And it looks a little weird. They've managed to lose 2 close games. So to me, it feels like that this is a team that can rebound. Maybe it's some dumb luck early on, but there definitely are problems there. There definitely are issues there that they're going to have to clean up. They're going to be successful going down the line. The Isaiah Likely thing is funny because it feels like this should be a 12 personnel team. They have two tight ends. They should be in 12. But
neither one of those guys really want to block.
Right. Right. This is if you're gonna do this, think of it like the Patriots when they had Gronk and Hernandez, and just hopes one of these guys learns how to block. Because Gronk was an elite blocker. Hernandez really wasn't much, didn't offer much of that. But to me, this just feels like a gun 12 personnel type team, and you try to figure out Derrick Henry at that point and go from there. But they seem reticent to do that too. I like Todd Monken. I always liked what he brought to the table, but they do have some things they need to. They're going to have to adjust on the fly if they're going to be a deep playoff run team this year. One thing I want to get back to on the NFC South, man, is the suddenly surging New Orleans Saints. After week 1, we talked about that offense. Like, well, they played Carolina, hold on the brakes. During the offseason, they came out and said they wanted to modernize the offense. They wanted to get into the modern era. They fired Pete Carmichael, who of course was picked up by the Denver Broncos because Saints West. But you saw them hire Clint Kubiak and go off that vein of the West Coast tree, which is what everybody in the NFL is running now. And man, they can't stop scoring. Watching them against Dallas, I thought Dallas had put up a fight. In fact, I picked Dallas in that game. I felt like an idiot. I'm watching 35 points in the first half, and these guys, they're running the most pre-snap motion. They're running the most play action. They were the dead last in this last year with Pete Carmichael. Now all of a sudden they switched the Sean Payton system to Kyle Shanahan's system basically, and they are scoring like crazy. Is this an indictment on the Sean Payton offense, or is this simply catching lightning in a bottle with the Saints early?
Probably a little bit of both. I think, with no preseason, it was hard to, we talked about this last week, hard to know what to expect. I think they're catching lightning in a bottle a little bit. Raheem Shaheed, or whatever, how you pronounce his name, looks spectacular. He's doing all kinds of stuff. Alvin Kamara looks like him of 4 years ago. Chris Olave is a damn good player. Derek Carr's playing out of his mind, but we've seen Derek Carr play 4 or 5 weeks every year at MVP level. He hasn't had the game where he throws 3 or 4 picks yet. So I think there's a combination of the two. They're catching people by surprise. Be interesting to see what happens when you got 4 weeks of film on this new offense and what defenses try to do against it. But we raved about Mike Zimmer last week in this Cowboys defense in Cleveland, who got their ass kicked. Waxed. The offense moved the ball for Dallas, but they had to kick way too many field goals again. That's 2 weeks in a row. They kicked a lot of field goals in red zone. I think they got a little bit of an issue there they got to figure out. Dallas was okay in this game. The Saints were just spectacular. I think they're for real. I'm now pretty scared as a Bucs guy of what the hell we're going to face when we see them. I hope it's, we got enough tape to look at.
Yeah, it was fascinating to me. I was watching this game. I was at the Broncos game, but this one was up on the Jumbotron pregame as everybody was stretching. We were watching it up on the Jumbotron. We're just all sitting there looking at this like, what in the world? Nobody saw this coming. The Dallas did play well. The Saints just played out of their mind. And Derek Carr, that is the thing. Is the question, is this sustainable for him? Because I've seen Derek Carr play very well before for stretches at a time. And then he'll have a bad game. He'll melt down for a few games, and you see how that goes. It'll be interesting to see how he bounces back from that. I think you hit that nail on the head. And I want to go – I want to pivot here because a prospect, a rookie this year that I compared to Derek Carr coming out was Bo Nix. And we're seeing Bo absolutely struggle in this Sean Payton offense right now. And I've already not a proponent of a lot of things Sean Payton does pre-snap. The constant shuffling of personnel groups doesn't let guys get in a rhythm. There's no pre-snap motion. The verbiage is so intense that it's taken guys forever to get out of the huddle. They're getting to the line with 9 seconds left on average. That's a problem. So, I don't know who to pin all the blame on here. Some of it is a rookie being a rookie. I can see that with Bo Nix. Some of it is the skill position players that had a few inopportune drops and things like that. But a large portion of this seems to be the design of this offense before it even gets into route concepts. Am I looking at this backwards? Am I seeing this wrong? Or is there something you want to add? Is because you spent, you were down in the NFC South. You saw a lot of Sean Payton in New Orleans. I don't understand what's happening here because this just seems like something that's fallen off the rails.
I think it's a couple things. I'm a big Sean Payton fan. I think what he does is really good, but when you're getting out of the huddle 9 or 10 seconds, you have no time to do anything pre-snap because you're up there and now you're rushing. I think it's a combination, too, of a pretty decent defense in Seattle. Reek Woolen is playing out of his mind, so he's taking away your top receiver on one half of the field, whoever he's covering. His first 2 games have been stupid. I think he gave up 14 and 17 yards with 2 catches in each game with a pick, and that Steelers defense is pretty legit. The Steelers kind of kept the ball away from him a little bit. Part of it's a rookie quarterback. Bo is going to have some growing pains, but the thing that I'm struggling with is Bo's an accurate player, and I think he's pretty smart with all the experience he's had. He knows where to go with the ball. So in Sean's, if you go back to the Drew Brees stuff, everything they did was pre-snap. Drew knew where to go with the ball, and the ball went there. Not a big arm guy. If it's a 8-yard hitch or they're throwing the slant to Michael Thomas back in the day, whatever it was there. There was not a lot of second, third reads with Drew. He would get there because he was so experienced, but I don't see the first read being open and Bo hitting it on time. That's the part I'm struggling. I don't know why. Are they getting out of the huddle too late that he can't really assess the defense? He's not played long enough? Did the Steelers and Seahawks do enough good job disguising? I don't think we've seen enough yet, but there's definitely question marks of what is this? I think Sean's plenty good enough to adjust. I love that he sat out a year, and you'd think he would have updated some of this stuff watching, being on TV as we said he wanted to do. It'll be interesting to see how it continues because it's been horrible so far.
It really has. It's been bafflingly bad. Not just bad, but bafflingly bad as we watch this. And Bo, you do see it. You see the game is a little too fast for him right now. He is a rookie, and you do see that he's a little frenetic in the pocket. He hasn't settled, but
they've all looked. Jaden Daniels, we're not going to talk about that game, but I'll throw this out there as rookie quarterback. Look phenomenal. Completion percentage blew me away. Not overly running when he has to.
Right.
Great job commanding that game yesterday, going back down, kicking their 7th field goal of the day to win. Caleb Williams last night, the game still looks way too fast. Their offensive line looks like shit. They faced a good defense that was bringing it. But these guys, Bryce Young just got benched. So I think Bo's fine. I wouldn't overreact in Bronco land yet, but does not look good.
Yeah, 2 games in is too much to hit the eject button, but at the same time, none of these rookies have really looked. We've gotten spoiled over the years with some of these guys who have jumped into the league and look phenomenal right off the bat. Right. These guys, this looks like a growth class. This looks like a class that's going to have to take a little while to get going. So that'll be fascinating to see. I want to pivot to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Obviously, my guy Baker Mayfield. I thought the Bucs have looked good through 2 weeks, even if, there have been times where, you want a little more. They're struggling, obviously, with some injuries on the back end defensively. What did you see out of this Bucs game that jumped out at you?
I saw a big-time win for a team that kind of had to rally the locker room. Your right tackle goes down. They give up 5 sacks. Aiden Hutchinson was a freak. They didn't run it great, and nobody really had a big game. Baker was only like 13 of 19, something like that. Chris Godwin played out of his mind. It was phenomenal. They got outgained by like double. They had, time possession was in the Lions' favor. The number of plays was almost double in the Lions' favor. So it was a huge win to go on the road and win. I'm not trying to take that away. I think Bucs fans are going to overreact. They have some issues. But it was a damn good team that they went and beat. That team had 460-something yards of offense. They kept shooting themselves in the foot. Jared Goff turnovers. Some were caused by the Bucs defense playing really well. But, I mean, if you're only going to have 260 yards of offense to a team that has 480, they run 80-something plays, you run 49 plays, whatever it was, you're not winning a lot of games that way. They're not going to always get that many turnovers. So they've got some things. But with those injuries that they had going in with no Antoine Winfield Jr. is why I picked the Lions to win, but I thought the Bucs would cover that spread. And then Gedeke goes down after I picked that game on Thursday, and you're just like, man, I mean, though that many starters out to go win that game, that's huge for their confidence. And with the Saints being 2-0, man, I mean, it was huge. Absolutely. I just don't want people to overreact because they went and beat the Lions and think they don't have some things they got to figure out here. But if the Falcons lose tonight, man, either way, they're sitting pretty. It's 2 big-time wins. They should get another one this week. The Lions, man, they're explosive as shit. Nobody runs it on Todd Bowles' defense good. The Lions didn't run it good enough early. But, man, Jamison Williams I picked as one of my breakout players of the year. Looks spectacular so far. Sam Laporta, really nothing through 2 games. Hadn't done much. So, I mean, they're going to be able to go to him when they need to. I just think they have so many people. There's only one ball.
Right. And that becomes a problem. I love what Ben Johnson does on offense there. He's kind of combined the old Kevin Rogers stuff with a little bit of like almost Adam Gase and Mike Martz in there. The way they get the ball, they move the ball to different guys. I expect a Laporta breakout, at some point, but it's just one of those things where there's too many mouths to feed right now. Even at that 400 plus yards of offense that you mentioned. If I'm the Bucs though, I'm sort of developing a sense of confidence because we were able to be resilient in a game where the odds were stacked against us due to injury. The offense is quite well known around the league, obviously, and they put up numbers, but we're able to find the right opportunities to make plays happen. And there's a sense of confidence that you instill in yourself early in the season. We can hang with anybody. We can beat with anybody, even if we don't have all of our top guys, et cetera, out there. So if I'm the Bucs, yeah, you are sitting pretty, and the momentum is swinging the right way at the right time. You need to continue that, obviously, late in the season, but early on, you're building the confidence in yourselves to be able to beat the odds in situations that are beyond your control.
And they're relying on their guy. Baker's the leader of this team now, and he's playing really well. That rallying of the locker room to go win that one and us against the world mentality that, Baker's chip, I think that rubs off on all of them. I'm excited. I mean, I think if you can go win a game like that with that many injuries, you can sustain that. Hopefully Vita Vea is not out for more than a few weeks. It doesn't sound like it's that bad. We're supposed to get an update today. I think that's going to be huge, but I'm very optimistic. And I'm not any more optimistic than I was coming in. I thought they were capable of this. I just think that was a damn good win in week 2 to go up there and win that game.
Yeah, a big one that'll probably factor in late in the season. Well, speaking of former Carolina Panthers quarterbacks that are experiencing success after they leave Carolina, Sam Darnold up there in Minnesota. Biggest stunner. I was all over the Niners in that one. And my goodness, the Vikings, a team that everybody had counted out at the start of the year, are playing like they forgot they're supposed to be bad. Sam Darnold's out here going toe-to-toe with the 49ers and helping the Vikings win. What is going on in Minnesota?
Brian Flores' defense is playing their ass off. He had a great game plan. Got a couple tip balls. Brock Purdy was just okay. Sam Darnold, not everybody's made for New York. We talked about this. I think Zach Wilson can play football. He needs a different, fresh start and the right coach. Sam Darnold wasn't made for New York. And how bad was that Carolina situation? Sam Darnold and Baker Mayfield were both there and both couldn't do shit. Now they're both thriving in other places. Sam Darnold could throw the football. He's another guy, you've said it twice now, kind of relies on that arm a little bit too much. He'll throw you some picks. He could have had a couple more in that game, but he could also make some plays. Justin Jefferson doesn't sound like that injury is going to be bad, but man, what a 2-0 start for them. I love what they did on defense. And it was one of those days San Francisco was like starting to come back. When Aaron Jones fumbled on the one going in, I was like, that was it. It's 20-7 at that point. I'm like, they're going to lose 21-20. San Francisco will come back. And they just, one of those days the ball didn't bounce in their favor. They made some mistakes. They'll be fine. Jordan Mason was still really good. Yes, they're missing Christian McCaffrey, but they're fine. I took nothing away from them. I just thought it was a hell of a game plan. Kevin O'Connell's good, man.
Mm-hmm. He really is. He was a finalist.
Battle with Kyle, and he did.
Yeah, he was. It's funny. He was a finalist here in Denver before they got Sean Payton. The three finalists were Kevin O'Connell, Dan Quinn, and Nate Hackett. And somehow Nate Hackett is the one they hired of those three to be the head coach. And the last guy out in terms of the finalists was John Gannon. We saw with Arizona. Look at Arizona playing again. They absolutely put it to them. Drew Petzing is going to be a head coach, or at least get head coach opportunities this offseason for what he's done there in Arizona. They finally got Marvin Harrison going there too. With the Sam Darnold thing, I've always rooted for the guy. I felt like he, you're right about the New York fit. I don't think he was a New York fit, but I've rooted for the guy forever. Ever since I found out his grandpa was a Marlboro man, and I shit you not, his grandpa's real name is Dick Hammer. I'm like, okay, I got to root for that guy. I'm sorry. Like, this is the dude in me. It just has to root for. Right. I got to root for this. You got a grandpa who was a Marlboro man named Dick Hammer. I'm sorry. You're like, you got to pass in my book. Kevin O'Connell doing a great job with a team that doesn't know it's supposed to be bad. And hopefully Justin Jefferson didn't outlaw him. That quad contusion, you're right. Doesn't sound like it's going to be a big deal. So looking forward to seeing that. I do want to talk about the Cardinals a little bit. This was another one where I actually picked them to win this, but I did not expect it to be as one-sided as it was. No.
Ridiculous offensive game plan. And Kyler executed the hell out of it. But Marvin Harrison Jr. coming out, 2 touchdowns, first 2 drives. We're like, hey, yeah, I missed him last week, but he's a thing. And my God, does he look like a thing. Mm-hmm. Trey McBride, maybe top 3 best tight end in the league right now. Chain mover, catches everything. He made a catch on the sidelines, got hit, kept the ball up in his hand. You could just see how good his hands are as he hit the ground and bounced around. But the defense, man, still don't have a lot of play. Buda Baker's a freak. Been a freak since my dad drafted him back in the day. He's in year 7 now, whatever. Just flies all over the place. But other than Buda, a whole lot of guys you're naming on that defense. But just like last year, Gannon's got them playing out of their freaking minds. That offense can be scary if they start spreading the ball around like that. Kyler looks good. I think it's another one of those days, though, you're going to overreact a little bit because the Rams, so many injuries, and the ball got rolling downhill quick, and it just got out of the way. The Rams, I think, are going to be fine, but they got to get healthy. You're talking about beat up. Holy crap. Cooper Kupp goes out of this game. Puka Nakua's out for, 5-6 weeks, whatever it is. 3 or 4 offensive linemen, corner. They got some issues, but, man, the Cardinals looked good. There's a lot of excitement going around the Valley right now, as there should be.
Yeah, as I say, as there should be. They're headed in the right direction. Even if they're not a contender this year, they're headed in the right direction, it looks like, and that's good for them. As we look at the team on the other side of the ball there, the Rams, we talked a little bit earlier about the Ravens. You got a lot of 0-2 teams that people may be surprised are 0-2. I'm not necessarily surprised that Cincinnati's 0-2 just because they have so many cold starts, but you got good teams that are 0-2. You get Cincinnati, you got the Jags, you got the Rams, you get the Ravens, Colts. Colts a team that people were predicting Anthony Richardson to be the MVP before the season started. Well, I'm with you on that. Yeah, I'm with you on that. But Alec Pierce has certainly looked good over there in Indy, and that's been something. Out of these 0-2 teams, is there a contender in here? Is there any that's a best of the bunch for you?
I thought about this. It's tough. I think the Ravens can figure it out just because they're the Ravens. They're going to be there in the end. That defense is going to get better, as we talked about. Coordinator change. Lamar is too talented to not figure this out. And whether they split time with Derrick Henry, regardless of what you're paying him, and Justice Hill plays a little bit more when they're in the gun, they'll figure it out. They got weapons on that offense. If the freaking Bengals play like they played against the Chiefs every time they play them, they're going to be just fine too. T. Higgins comes back. They look like they've got some other pieces that are coming around. Joe Burrow looked like Joe Burrow again yesterday. And, man, Lua Anarumo did a phenomenal job. Patrick Mahomes, what they have? They had under 300 yards of offense yesterday.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, another Chiefs defense win, sort of.
Anybody else, I think they're going to be fine. I think the Rams are going to be fine. You get Puka Nacua back, Cooper cut back. You get the 2 offensive linemen back. Matt Stafford looks like a freak, but he got that ankle injury last week. He was not moving very well yesterday. He toughed it out. He's too damn tough. And I think the Jaguars could be okay, but something's going on down there. I went the opposite of like they put the pressure on them, and I'm like, they're going to rise to the occasion. Quarterback's even-keeled guy, not too high, not too low. Peterson's been there, done that. But there's issues. I mean, this Browns team has major issues, but they couldn't do shit offensively in Jacksonville for 2 weeks. And the Colts, I'm not even putting that in that category because that first game, they got outrushed by 100 yards. The time possession was 40-20. Return to kickoff or whatever it was. Like, there were some freaky things that made that a 2-point game. So I'm not even putting in that category. So the quarterback could throw 50% completion percentage and doesn't throw 3 picks that are just awful. I'm not even putting them in the category of a team that could turn this around. Jacksonville, I don't know, man. I don't know if they're in that category. The other 3 I feel fine about. I think the Bengals, the Ravens, and the Rams will be okay. Last time the Ravens didn't make the playoffs, they started 0-2, and that's been a hot minute.
And I tend to agree with you there. I mean, with the Ravens and Rams especially, the Bengals, you know, they've got some other issues going on there. They've got a mercurial receiver who's unhappy, another receiver who's got to come back from injury on the franchise tag. You know, they've got some issues that they got to figure out. They may get there. I'm not too worried about them, but I have more confidence in the other 2. The Jags are the ones I want to dial in on because there is an expectation here. You drafted Trevor Lawrence as a generational prospect. You put plenty of pieces around him up there. You got Doug Peterson and Press Taylor running the offense there. Press is Zach's brother. It just isn't working. Like, it just is not working. And you look at this and I can't put my finger on what the problem is. I understand the Jags had Evan Engram out because he had a pregame injury with the hamstring and you know, and whatnot. But Evan, your whole offense doesn't run around Evan Engram, and that should be something that you can adjust to, even if it is on the fly like that. I don't know. I don't see a way for them to dig themselves out. And you know, Shad Khan did put the pressure on him. And if they don't make the playoffs, that staff's probably gone. And that's been the best staff to happen to Jacksonville in quite some time.
I don't even know if it's make the playoffs. I mean, I think he said make the playoffs, make a run. This is the best roster we've ever had, best coaching staff we've ever had. There's no excuses. And Shad's usually laid back. I mean, that's why I was like, all right, I think these guys are going to rise to the occasion. I think they're off under the radar. You know, they get healthy. A lot of the pieces that were good last year started great, and they finished like shit. Well, they just can't figure out to pick up where they were good last year. They picked up where they finished like shit. It's interesting. I don't know. I got to look at their schedule to see what they got coming up. But, man, they got to get it fixed, and they got to get it fixed in a hurry. They're the question mark for me, but I agree. The other 3 I feel pretty good about in the long run, a 17-game schedule. I think they're going to be okay if they can get healthy. Like, the Rams got to get these guys back because I think they got San Francisco next week. They're going to start 0-3.
Yeah, the 0-3 hole is one that you definitely don't want to be in. Historically, that's the death sentence. You know, it's very rare.
The Cardinals, and you haven't even played the Seahawks yet. Like that,
right.
I think they'll be okay, but they got to get some guys back in a hurry, and they got to play really well the last month of the season.
I do want to talk real quick as we wrap this up about look forward a little bit to the Bucs and Broncos. Obviously, you know, the 813, we do cover the Bucs heavily, and of course, I'm embedded here with the Broncos, so this is going to be interesting. Broncos on the road, they're at the Bucs in this one. How is this perceived from the Buccaneers side of the house? Because the Broncos fan base is melting down over what they feel like was being sold a bill of goods. The way Sean Payton was dialing up offenses in the preseason, starting the ones against the 2s and 3s of the Colts and the Packers. It created an entirely unrealistic expectation of what this offense was going to be. The defense is playing lights out. It's a top 10 defense, but the offense looks brutally bad. How is this game viewed from the Tampa side of the house?
I think Tampa feels like their offense is going to score 20 to 30 every week, you know, depending on which defense they play. I mean, that defense in Detroit's pretty good. I think they feel, even, you know, Gedecke's not back. I think they feel like they could put up 24 on anybody and be in that 20 to 30 range. Defensively, I think they feel like they're going to hold people under that. And there's going to be this Todd Bowles wants to keep it a little closer. Like, my dad wanted to score 30 on everybody and didn't really care if you gave up 24. It was like, we're going to score 30. We're going to put up some points. It's a little bit of a closer game, but I feel like they play complementary football and they can do that. The thing that scares me there is you got some of these defensive injuries. Vita Vea being out, you know, Winfield's going to miss this week as well. You might get a couple guys back, but Sean Payton has owned Todd Bowles in the past offensively, going back to those New Orleans days early. Like it was just a struggle. I mean, those games we beat everybody else, but we just struggled against the Saints. I don't know that they have the pieces for Sean to really be able to do that. I think if you're the Bucs, you play pretty conservatively, stop the run. You're going to bring some exotic blitzes. That's what you do. You put the pressure on the rookie quarterback. and you let the chips fall where they may. I mean, they haven't done enough offensively to scare you with the Sean Payton or not. So I think from Bucs land, it's like, let's go out, take care of business. Doesn't matter the opponent. Prepare, Monday through Saturday, go play the game, get another dub. From the Broncos' point of view, I can see why the sky's falling, man. It's a proud fan base. You've had phenomenal quarterback play there over the years, and it hasn't been that way recently. I think it's too early to get on Bo if you're the fan base. But I don't know that it's too early to get on Sean. I agree with you. I think that could happen quick, especially with the new ownership, the amount of money that they want to spend, the amount of money they paid Sean to come. And if the defense is playing good again, which it feels like that's the theme in Denver for the last, decade, I wouldn't feel good about going to Tampa and winning this game, but I would like to go play a little better. I just don't. I mean, that's a tough defense to go play against for a rookie that, turned it over a little bit this week. I think Tampa's defense is better than Pittsburgh's, but I think they're missing enough pieces that it's probably about the same. I mean, Vita not playing, Antoine Winfield, that's two major pieces on that team.
Yeah, it's fascinating because, you played a pretty good defense in Seattle to start. You had Pittsburgh in week 2. Now you get Tampa week 3. And, by the way, you got to take Robert Saleh and the Jets on in week 4 if you're the Denver Broncos. So it's not exactly kind of a murderer's row intro to the league. For me, I think in most fans, the bar here is scoring 10 points on offense. I know that could be the lowest bar on earth, but they got 6 points and barely got 6 points in this game against Pittsburgh. The offense, while they had 20 points in that game, 2 of those were safeties. One was a field goal after an interception that brought it down, and they got -1 yards on 3 plays, and the other was a muffed punt that they got turned over, and they got 3 yards on 3 plays to kick the field goal. So 10 of their 20 points in the week 1 weren't even on the offense. It was on the defense and special teams. So I think getting to 14 points for the offense, if they can do that against the Bucs, that is such a hilariously low bar to lay out there, but I think that's where we got to start here if you're a Broncos fan. Looking forward to this one, looking forward to watching that one, seeing it. We appreciate you guys joining us as always. Jake, you got any closing thoughts before we get out of here?
I'm going to ask you again, best thing you saw this week.
Oh, man, best thing I saw this week.
Think about it while I go, or you got one?
I got one right off the bat. I'll let you go, then I'll come back with the other. The trick play in Denver, 20% of their offense came on one play, and it was this wildcat play where they wound up tossing the ball back to Bo Nix. The ball was underthrown 49 yards to Josh Reynolds, but all of a sudden the offense had energy that it hadn't had in 2 games, and it was nice to kind of see the young quarterback kind of get the attaboys from the team and get that thing going a little bit. So that was one of the best things I saw.
The Cardinals offense, Drew Petzing's freaking, that was, the game plan was just, it was one of those weeks where it's just perfect. Yeah, exactly. Everything you dial up. The other one's Matt LaFleur. Nope, the Packers are not getting talked about. Dude, they had 10 pass attempts at halftime, 9 of 10 for Malik Willis, who played really good. Dude, they ran the freaking option in this game a couple of times. Josh Jacob, we talked about some of these running backs changing 36, 39 carries, 150 yards, whatever it was. Ran it down your freaking throat when you know it's coming. So don't give me this thing that the Colts are good. You know what they're going to do. The most important position in all of sports is a quarterback, and you're playing them without their quarterback, and you get it run down your throat, and your quarterback that's so highly touted played like crap again. Man, the Packers, Matt LaFleur, and the Cardinals offense, the best thing I saw this week was those two by far.
You kind of stole part of mine there. I was going to say quarterback renaissances for guys that have been written off or whatever. You saw Malik Willis, a guy who everybody written off, and he's out there, making some plays. They found a way to make it work and get a win. You had Sam Darnold, we already talked about. Baker's resurgence. I think that was more last year than this year. But I love good story like that. Geno Smith was kind of paved the way for that a little bit with the Seahawks with his comeback. I just love to see quarterbacks land in a situation that is conducive to their success, and then seeing that play out. I don't know. For me, that's the heartwarming story. And so seeing that, the Malik Willis would be included in that. I thought was
guys
great.
With backbone, the world we live in anymore. Some guys from freaking guts. They're going to pull themselves up by the bootstraps and go make it. Not just fold because life got hard.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I had to change.
There's no transfer portal in the NFL.
No, I had to change teams a couple of times, and this sucked. But I'm gonna. I love that you brought that up because that's 4 or 5 guys, and Geno really did kind of pave the way for that for the first time in a while of a guy picking himself up and rolling with that. And don't forget to subscribe and like the video, part of the 813.tv network. We should have said that at the top. We'll remember to do that next week. But make sure you subscribe and like. And, man, it's fun.
Yeah.
Again next week.
Yeah, let's do it next week. See ya.